This is my argumentative research essay oral presentation. My research question was, did COVID lead to a large decline of reading fluency/comprehension in early education? What initially had led me to this topic was I have some family members who are teachers, and I've seen a lot of social media, all over social media, that teachers of elementary and middle school about how there is a serious problem with reading fluency and comprehension in early education nowadays, and I wanted to know what about COVID led to it. Some background. I felt it was important to research this topic because the skills affected are extremely important to furthering education in any way. With a lack of rock-solid understanding and mastering of skills, trying to add higher levels of education on top of that, on top of an already rocky base, could only lead to a generation struggling in school and could affect the school system for years to come. And maybe by doing an in-depth research of what online schooling looked like for them and how COVID could have affected them, and maybe to see if it is something reversible in the future. I think that this topic is really important because the generations to come should have the same experience as we did and have the same things they need to succeed. They've been given an unfair disadvantage, I believe. Some data. Results from a reading assessment given to first through fourth graders nationwide showed that students' development of oral reading fluency largely stopped in spring 2020 after the abrupt school closures brought on by COVID-19. Excuse me, sorry. Reading fluency in second and third grade is now approximately 30% behind what would be expected in a typical year, and researchers examined trends in the students' long-run growth back to 2018, observing fairly steady growth until the onset of the pandemic in the spring of 2020. The trajectory flattened at that point and remained flat throughout the summer, indicating that children's reading abilities had plateaued. This is all from a Stanford Report article. What I believe affected them. Part of why reading skills specifically were so heavily affected was because of the way in which children learn how to read. There are two factors that play into reading fluency. There is decoding and language comprehension. These are both learned in the second grade. Decoding is a constrained skill, meaning it is comprised of a limited number of items and can be mastered in a relatively short amount of time. Decoding is basically looking at something while you're reading it and being able to break it down to its simplest parts, and then store that knowledge. And language comprehension is an unconstrained skill, meaning it is comprised of an unlimited amount of information in which students continue to develop throughout their lives. Language comprehension is basically like when we learn more and more vocabulary as life goes on, like we can learn harder things and understand them because of the simpler things we do now. Consistent with this initial evidence from students K through second grade, tested during the pandemic indicates that a significantly higher proportion of students are at a risk for reading problems compared to pre-COVID-19 students. So for the students who were affected by COVID in these extremely crucial developmental years, they are now entering middle school with damaged levels of reading fluency. There's one more slide. What I believe can help. I and some other articles where I got where I got this graphic from believe that lots of small group activities and very specifically targeted assignments to help build their skills that they may have missed out on, like decoding, which is crucial into reading comprehension and fluency. The reason I believe that a lot of really small group and targeted classroom activities would be really helpful is because when they're behind a screen, it affects the way they read. I've read a few articles about how, the really bright lights can cause mental and visual fatigue much quicker than if you were reading off of a book. And then also, computers have lots of ads going on, things moving all the time, and then that causes the kids to read something but not in like hold that knowledge in their being. They don't comprehend what they're reading; they just read it to read it. And so I believe, like what this graphic says, a lot of small group instruction, really targeted, robust peer discussions as well, because when they're online, it's mainly the teacher talking. They can't really talk to each other unless they mute and then unmute and then the whole class hears them, which is probably not going to happen. And I think this is all really important to repairing the damage done by COVID to reading level and comprehension. Thank you for watching. These are my sources.